Hi everyone, I'm the Rambling Photon, and today I'd like to talk about equal pay for equal work and how it is incompatible with progress and free market capitalism, sort of generally. So I actually made a blog post about this back when I still had a blog. You can find it up. It's wanderingpolitics at blogspot.com if you care, but you probably don't. So first things first, let's define some of our terms. And I think this is particularly important for the equal pay for equal work, because how we think about equality is extremely important for this argument. So, there are a few different ways you can possibly define it. You can define it as equal pay for equal output, or equal pay for equal effort, or equal pay for equal time. These are all different ways of defining what do you mean by equal work, okay? Because just because you're equal in one doesn't necessarily mean that you're equal in another, right? So, equal pay for equal output. Now, when we think of this, this would be sort of the sort of a piece worker, right? So, you have a product that each worker is making, and each worker gets paid based on how many of that particular product they make. So that's really easy, right? You just buy each thing that they make off of them, and boom, you're done. Equal pay for equal work, right? Well, what about if one of the people has a hard time making the thing, right? Then you might get into an argument about equal pay for equal effort instead. So, they're working really hard, they deserve it. Now, that I think is kind of... I dislike that definition. I think it's kind of stupid. But it's a type of equality that we might want to consider. Okay? And then another one would be equal pay for equal time. So, basically an equally hourly wage, even if one person is more productive in that time than the other. This one is certainly easiest to measure for sort of the more creative enterprises, like or salaried work, where there's no good way to measure the outputs of two different people and compare them. So you can use this as a metric. Now, the reason that I think that these are important to understand is that if we say, let's pay equally for equal output, as a worker, I might then complain about not getting paid fairly because I'm putting in the same amount of time as my coworkers, but they're getting paid more. So you have to worry about that. So you need to worry about that when you're talking about equal pay for equal work. But to get back to my sort of intended point, equal pay for equal work is anti-progress. Because in order to make progress, what you need to do is you need to do the same work for less. That's the whole point of the market economy and competition, is that you are making the best product for the lowest price. And in order to do that, the idea is to make the same product or a better product with either the same labor or with less labor. And so if you're doing less labor, that is unequal work. So if you're doing unequal work for the same pay, that's not equal work for equal pay, right? That's against equal pay for equal work, okay? Progress is predicated on the fact that we become more and more able to pay the same amount for a superior product or pay less for the same product. Okay? That's the whole point. That is the goal of economic development, is to invest in such a way that you can get more out for less. Okay? So this is something that ends up being important to understand when somebody says that they desire equal pay for equal work, that's almost fundamentally anti-progress, because it's fundamentally against making goods and services cheaper and thus accessible to the most people. So those are just some of my thoughts on the whole equal pay for equal work. If you like my content, subscribe and comment and shit. This has been the Rambling Photon. Hope to see you next time.